welcome or welcome back to Life on the French. Today we have a guest on. Say hi, guest. Introduce yourself.
Hello, this is Heidi. I'm Francesca's mom.
Um, Today we're going to be talking about what it's like to raise gay kids and some of like her experiences with the LGBTQ community that she's had through us. So, to start off with, did you want to show people your pin? Because you have to hold it up real close, otherwise they can't see it.
I don't know how I feel about that, but this is my proud mom.
Were you expecting to have gay kids?
Finding out, I think, was a shocker because I didn't see it coming. Um, how I was told by both of you was also interesting. Those are interesting stories.
Well, you can share them.
Well, I will throw you under the bus then and say, when you came out, that was the worst way you probably could have done it, because I was visiting at Penn and you were like, and it was the morning that I was leaving to go home, and you're like, let's go to Dunkin' Donuts. And I was like, I've got to catch a plane in like an hour and a half. Well, let's go to Dunkin' Donuts. So we go to Dunkin' Donuts. You treat me to a Boston cream and a hot chocolate. We sit down and you're like, Mom, I just want to let you know I'm bi. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm bi. And then you were super nervous. And then I was like, what? And then you were like, nope, we don't have time to talk about this. Let's get you on that airplane. And then I had to get on the airplane and not process anything. That was probably the worst. It wasn't that I was not accepting. It was that I was like, I don't know. I don't even know what it was like. It was like if I got on ancestry.com and found out I was part Martian, I would need time to process that. How did that happen? What are you talking about? How did you know? Who was my great grandpa sleeping with? I'm not comparing you to me, a Martian. That's not what I'm saying. So all you haters out there, don't come at my life. I'm just saying, like,
we have a good community here. I don't think they're going to come at your life.
It was an unexpected announcement. There were a lot of questions,
And
it's not bad news. It's not bad news. It's just unexpected news,
right?
Which I hope that parents who are out there watching it understand the difference.
Yeah, to go off that story, the reason that I had done it that way, which I agree, bad planning on my part, but one of the reasons that I planned it that way was, so over the course of the weekend, I had been doing these like little tests, because it wasn't something that we like talked about all the time. Like you and I did not have tons of conversations around like gay things, culture, people, or otherwise. And so, I took her to Philly has this like neighborhood area. And so I took her to the neighborhood and we got dinner there at one of my favorite restaurants. And then, kind of observed watching like, if she would have like a sudden, like, good old fashioned Midwestern freak out, which she didn't. But like putting in these like little tests of like, is she going to be okay with this or not? And I do think that's a good idea if you are like gay and you don't know how your parents are going to react, like to kind of get some sense as to like what their reaction might be if you put them in different scenarios, just so you can make sure you're safe. And then once that went fine, I was like, oh, I have to do this. And I just got really anxious because like in college, I just was out. I didn't like come out necessarily in any big fashion way. I just didn't hide it. So all my friends knew. So this was my first time like coming out to someone that wasn't like a romantic partner. And So I was just really anxious. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it in a public place because if they freak out, then I'll be protected in this public space. Um, but it was like, that's like my side of that story. But yes, then we couldn't process it at all. And then it was worse because we couldn't like talk about it. And so both of us just ruminated in our separate bubbles until we finally talked about it more. So you said you didn't really know what to expect and you had all these questions coming out of that conversation. So what would you say like some of those questions were? Like you had mentioned a few, but like when did you get answers? How did you get answers? For like other parents out there who might have like similar questions.
I think it's an ongoing conversation. I mean, we still talk about it. And I mean, I can't say that I have all the answers, but I also don't have a whole lot of questions
Mm-hmm.
just because I don't know. And maybe it was different for you because when you came out, you were seeing a boy.
Sure.
And that was probably my confusion than anything else. Like, wait, how do you know this if you're seeing him? And then were you cheating on him with a girl? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just was not, that part was hard to process. Not that obviously if you're bi, you can date a boy or a girl, but you were dating a boy when you announced that you were bi, and then it was more like, have you been cheating on him? Like, what is going on? You know what I mean? Like, I think
Mhm.
that was more my issue than anything else, maybe. I don't know. But I don't think it's for parents out there, it's not you're going to get definitive answers all the time. And there's an anniversary date of when they discovered that they were going to be gay, because probably it was a process for them too. And not that they were going to be gay, you know what I'm saying, but that they were realizing that they were gay, that they were drawn to the same sex, that they were, whatever, because I'm sure growing up, the culture around you I'm sure you guys felt the expectation too. Like you were supposed to, have your sweet 16, then you were supposed to fall in love with a boy, and then you were supposed to get married and have children. And you know what I mean? Like that's the general expectation I think all parents have for their children. But I also think that going in 2021, even before that, obviously, that people of my generation anyway, I feel like the majority of them are more accepting. They might be surprised, but they're more accepting.
Yeah.
And that's I think a big I don't know if the word is a misnomer or not, but I think for people of your generation, I think you have expectations too. You were expecting me to freak out.
Mhm.
And when Elena came out, she expected me to hate her,
Mhm.
which clearly that was never ever going to be the case. You know what I mean? Like you guys have expectations of older people not being accepting and not being understanding and not, I don't know, just not.
Mhm.
And I think people of my generation actually are more understanding, maybe not than of your generation, but definitely of the generations that came before us. Because
No, and I agree. I think that there's like more of an expectation of like non-acceptance than acceptance. And we're very lucky to have you as a parent. I think it's not that we think that like every person is going to have this like extreme blow up. I think that I think it's part of like being online that the most hateful voices are often the loudest voices.
yeah,
And
squeaky wheel gets the oil or something like
Yes,
that?
the
Yeah.
wheel gets the oil. Yeah, so I think like our impression of like your generation or anybody who's like not in our generation is this like very hateful person. And so about at anything. And so I think it's like a self-protection type feeling of like, well, I don't think they're gonna be like this. But some people that we know have these like horrific views that you wouldn't expect them to have if you didn't see what they posted. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the fear.
Yes, I do. I'm pretty sure I can cite examples if you want me to,
I'm okay. That's
but I
not what,
won't. We don't need to throw anybody else under the bus.
no.
So
Um, yeah, but I think that's where it's from, and I don't think I think like if I had if I had to change like just one thing about coming out, I think it would have been like to you. I think it would have been like I don't know that I would have changed that it was like public. I think I would have given space for if it went well. And I didn't give it space. I only gave it space for like if it was going to go badly, I would have my bases covered, but I didn't have my bases covered for like if it went well. I guess that would be my advice to people out there who aren't sure how their parents are going to be. Maybe you're the first like gay person they know, or you're the first gay person in their family or something. Then, you know, plan for like the worst, but also plan for the best. That way, like you're not in a situation where like I was in, where it was like, okay, it went like well, but then like it like I didn't give it space to grow, so then it like disappeared. Because I just remember like afterwards it being like, okay, well I came out. We didn't talk about anything at all. And then just like you had a bunch of questions, I had a bunch of like things I wanted to share, but I didn't have the space to do that or to answer your questions or like anything like that because I just didn't plan for it to go well, you know?
yeah,
Um,
I would also share the story of how Elena came out. So I don't even know what day of the week it was, but it was definitely a school night. And she was still in high school. You were in college. And I was in bed. I don't know, grading papers, watching TV. I don't, whatever. And Elena came in and said, Mom, I have news. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, yeah. And I said, are you pregnant? And she said, nope. And I said, are you gay? And she said, yep. And I said, for real? And she said, yep. And I just said, huh. And then she's like, do you hate me? And I was like, no. And then like we just hugged and she was crying and crying and crying. She's probably like really relieved maybe that she told me, probably, I would guess, because she and her girlfriend had been like hiding it for, I don't know, a good year maybe. And I'm not, I don't know. I just want to emphasize that it was news. It wasn't bad news. She didn't say, I have bad news. And I didn't say to your dad or anybody else, I have bad news. Because it's not bad news, it's just news. You
mhm.
know, it's like getting a new neighbor. It's just news. It's not bad news. It's just news. So anyway, we hugged it out. It was different. I mean, we did a lot of talking. We did a lot more talking than you did, but it was like, not that I was hurt, because hurt's not really the word, but I questioned why she didn't tell me sooner, because I feel like with all three of you, we have a very open relationship. At least I hope so, unless you guys are all hiding shit from me that I don't know about. But I mean, all kids do. I'm not saying that. I don't need to know everything. But something big like that, where she was just struggling, struggling, struggling. You know what I mean? Like, I just wish she had told me sooner so I could have helped her through the struggle, I guess.
Mhm.
I don't know, to give her more confidence, to make her feel like she would be loved and accepted versus her worrying for how long, whether or not she would continue to be loved and accepted.
Mhm.
I don't know. So it's all good.
So what would you say would be like one of the best conversations you had, or where you learned the most? And what would you say is a time where you wish you had done something differently in a conversation with either me or Elena?
That's a very big question.
We dig deep here on life on the French. We talk about hamsters and then we talk about life.
I don't know. And I do think that having these conversations with you and her, I was having to think about my English grammar there for a second. With you and her has actually made me a better teacher because it's made me more aware of how kids are feeling about different things.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Even having a transgender nephew, that has, I think, also helped. Although there's a part of this community that we just talked about this the other day. There's a part of this community in school that I'm still trying to get educated on. At the end of the year, I have students fill out like an application, and it's a lot of like on a scale of 1 to 5, whatever. And I've been at it for 27 years. So, I mean, I got my methods down pat. I'm a pretty kick-ass teacher, but there's other things that maybe they have a question or a concern about, or just to share. So I give them space to write that. And one of the students was like, I know you don't do it intentionally, but it's really hurtful when you assign boys do this and girls do that, which in my brain, and as I told her and you and Elena, I agree. It's multiple ways. You know what I mean? It's not always boys versus girls, but in my brain, having gone through this very big process with my nephew, when I say boys do this, girls do this, I'm not assigning who's a boy and who's a girl. Like, you can pick which one. So however you identify, but I'm not going to come out and say, well, however you identify, because then it almost sounds condescending and I don't want to do that. But then there's another group of people out there who don't identify as either, which is beyond my scope of education. And I love this person. And I was so upset that I had made this person feel this way. And anyway, so I drafted an email and I just had Elena look it over to make sure that I wasn't saying anything to sound like I didn't care, or sound like I wasn't trying to understand, or that I wasn't going to change or whatever, because I love students and I love kids and I love people in general, and I don't want anybody to feel that way around me.
What would be some advice you would give parents who have kids that came out to them this June during Pride Month?
I think the only thing that I would say to them is, did you love them yesterday? What's really changed? They just learned to speak Swahili. Good for them. This is just something that they are learning about themselves. And I think we should kind of celebrate that, because if they're continuing to learn about themselves, then they are going to continue to learn to love themselves more too.
Mhm.
And don't we want our kids around as long as we possibly can have them? So that's what I would say to parents.
Okay. Do you have any final statements before we conclude this interview?
I have 3 final statements. 1, I'm sorry about the lighting. 2, for people who are getting ready to come out, start with the people that you know and love and trust the most. because they probably have known and loved and trust you longer than anybody else that you've known. And if you trusted them on other stuff, you should trust them with this too. And they might be surprised. They might even be disappointed. But the truth of the matter is, like, they love you, they trust you, and they want you in their lives. So I know there's assholes out there, but start with the people that you know and love and trust the most. If there's an asshole in your life, you don't trust them. So you can expect them to be assholes, right? But if there's people out there that you do trust and you do love, and you have gotten their support on all kinds of other things, then you should trust that support and love and be honest with them. And for parents, it goes both ways. So for parents, I would say, ask yourself if you loved your child yesterday, and then ask yourself if this really changes anything at all.
Those 2 statements.
It's not that hard. That was 3 statements. I apologize for the lighting.
Oh, right. Sorry. Equally as astute.
That was important. But I don't know. Oh, I could have gone this way, I guess. No, that's really not much better. Yeah, it is what it is. So I feel like there's like a, one of those lights that the police use to shine down on people, like to get them to tell the truth, sweat it out or whatever. That's what this is.
Oh,
I have nothing to hide though.
I had a question before we cut off. So you mentioned earlier that you didn't anticipate us being under the rainbow flag. Some parents do. I would just like to say, if you're a parent out there, you did or did not expect it, I don't think that means anything about you as a parent. I think parents get like,
oh, what did I do wrong? If only I had done this. Da, 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 da. Yeah, that's just not a thing.
And also, like, I think, there's this like, oh, I've always known. I've known you were gay since you were in the womb. Like, the earlier that the parent figured it out to like the time of them coming out, the better.
I think it's bullshit.
Yeah, I think that there are like sometimes when you might guess, but you don't know until like someone tells you, because probably
don't know. I mean, like, I remember some of Elena's friends' parents saying, "Oh my God, how did you not know?" Blah. Like, we know when she was in 2nd grade, and I was like, "You knew that she was gay in 2nd grade because she was hanging around with boys? Because straight girls hang around with boys." You know what I mean? Like, no, because she was such a tomboy. Hello, nurse. I was such a tomboy growing up. You know what I mean? Like, granted, I don't think I had. I can't think of anything in my childhood that wasn't different than Elena's.
Well, that's what I was gonna say.
I played football with the boys. I played baseball with the boys. I wasn't playing softball with the girls. That was for girls. Like, I wanted to like show my athleticism. So I was playing with the boys. You know what I mean? Like, in the neighborhood, like, I had to protect my brother, against like bullies and stuff. So did I wear dresses? Sure. Did I wear jeans? Sure. Did I wear tennis skirts? Sure. Whatever. But in 2nd grade, Elaine and I were running parallel lives. You know what I mean? I just think, I think it's horrible for people to say that, because then they're stereotyping, which I think is just as bad. Oh, I knew she was gay because she liked short hair and she was always wearing, sports jerseys. Girls can't do that. Straight girls can't. I don't mean girls. Straight girls can't do that. You know what I mean? I'm like, they're just as bad if they're stereotyping people into that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and that's what I was gonna say. I just like, I think,
Yeah. You don't know. The only person who's gonna know is the person themselves. You
right,
can't force somebody to be gay and you can't force somebody to be straight. So ergo, you don't know if somebody's gay or straight.
yeah. I think um, a difference between Elena and I is I think that she meets more of the like stereotype expectations of what it means to be like gay. And I don't think I meet all of the stereotypes of being like either gay or bi, or not nearly as many as she does. And I think in my experience, it's been like incredibly annoying and difficult to deal with people who like have those expectations because it makes it very difficult for people who don't meet them to really like be a part of the community. Um, and like it's not to say that like because like there's like Reddit threads that have like what it means to be bi or like about bi culture or same thing with like gay people. And like stereotypes, they're like kind of true. Like, there's one about bi people that I do fit into where it's like bi people can't sit on chairs correctly. We always have to be like tucked or like crossed our legs underneath us or like wrapped like a. I don't know why that's a stereotype, but in me, that's something I always have had. But I don't know that it's like true of all bi people. Some of the same movies, we find music that is like written by LGBT artists. Like, so we're all gonna listen to something like Girls in Red or whatever band, Troye Sivan, because we're all looking to find ourselves in like the media. But so I don't think it's like wrong to have the stereotype necessarily. I think it's like wrong when you think you know something because of a stereotype. You know? Does that make any sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does.
Yes, I think when it's said like that, like I can't believe
Share with
that's when it's offensive. It's not like the like, oh, I kind of guessed because blah 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 blah. That's like not that bad. Like you kind of guessed. People make assumptions for other people. That's just a fact of life. But to say you knew or to be like judgmental because other people didn't know, it doesn't make you more woke. You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to get at. If you found this video informative, click the like button. If you have any questions or comments for me or my mom, you can leave them in the comment section down below. If you want to see more of our content, um, LGBTQ plus or otherwise, click subscribe and ding the bell button to know when we post, which is every day. Most importantly, I hope you have a wonderful day and a very happy Pride.